Hey guys, Divvy here with another toy review. I know I haven't done these in a while, but I had this guy in storage for some time, so I figured it was time to review him. Here we have Diamond Select's Marvel Select Deadpool action figure. Now, I don't show figures in their packaging, especially for figures that are part of what I like to call commercial toy lines, like for example movie lines, like the three Transformer movie lines, or the movie line action figures from the Iron Man movies. I don't like to show the packaging for those figures because chances are, if you're watching this video, you collect figures, and there's a really good chance that you've either owned these figures already or you have looked at them at the stores, so chances are you already know what the package looks like. However, being the fact that the Marvel Select Deadpool figure, as well as all the other Marvel Select figures, are more like collectible action figures rather than just commercial action figures, the packaging is a little nicer than the ones for more traditional figures, and the fact that it's a collectible item, you're hardly going to come across it in any regular store like Toys R Us or Target, so it makes it all the more special. So really briefly, I'm just going to talk about the packaging before I get to the actual figure. Here you have him in this bubble-like packaging, like they all come in. On the side here, you got his name, Deadpool, Special Collector Edition action figure with highly detailed base, Marvel Select. Here you have a little Deadpool insignia. All the Marvel Select figures come with some sort of symbol or insignia here that represents either their faction or something that has to do with the character. Flip it to the left. Here we got some really good artwork of Deadpool. I really like it, very comic book style. Then we turn around and we got the back, and you got an awful lot of basic stuff. You got a picture of Deadpool here in action, other recommendable figures like Cyclops and Magneto, and you also got the variant. Let me see if you guys can see that up close. You got the variant of Deadpool that comes with the alternate head, the unmasked head. Looks more like Freddy Krueger rather than Deadpool, but okay. Logos, UPC, all that crap. Deadpool once again, and then a little description of the character. The description says, sculpted by Gabriel Marquez, Deadpool aka Wade Wilson is the infamous Merc with a mouth. His career as a mercenary began while still in his late teens when he became a test subject in Department K's branch of the joint US-Canadian Superhuman Enhancement Project, better known as the Weapon X program. Horribly scarred and slightly insane due to the super soldier process that bestowed him with an accelerated healing factor, Deadpool has become one of the Marvel Universe's favorite loudmouth, smart alecky super assassins and mercenaries. So good, so popular that a video game came out and it wasn't that great of a success. At least that's what I hear. Other than that, that's actually pretty much it for the packaging. There's a little bit of artwork going on over there in the back, but there's no way to really show it in great detail without getting the figure out of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get him out of the box and see what he looks like. And here we have Marvel Select Deadpool out of the package in all of its glory. And he looks amazing. Now, he's a little short on detail because there really isn't that much to him when it comes to detail, whether it's about accuracy or portrayal or paint applications. Even though the paint applications on this guy are decent. I mean, he's got the classic red and black with the proper paint decals all over his body, especially where they need to be based on the accuracy of the character from the comics. Although I will say that there are certain places here and there where I do feel like the shade of the red is a little different than in other parts of his body, but they're very, very minimal. The only one that probably stands out the most would have to be the shade of red on the ball joint on the top leg here. The shade of red, I don't know what it is, maybe it's because of the lighting, but it just seems to be just a little darker than the red on the rest of his body. But that's just me, and like I said, it's probably just a lighting issue. But overall, the paint decals are great, and don't get me wrong, the detail that he has here is great. Like the packs here on his utility belt, and the straps, and the bonus little knives, and tear gas. I believe that's the tear gas right there. And they're well detailed, especially this knife here that he has on his leg. It's so well etched in and sculpted and detailed that I actually thought that you could take out the knife. I actually thought that you could take out the knife and add another accessory to the already accessory-filled Deadpool, but unfortunately not. You cannot take it out. It's a bit of a bummer. But sculpting wise, he looks terrific. They captured Deadpool just right, that it looks like he just came out of the comic book pages. The proportions are correct, the definition in his muscles are right. I mean, it's just, he looks great. He stands at around, let me see, this ruler here, that's about 6 inches, so maybe about 8 inches. He stands at around 8 inches, maybe give or take a few centimeters. Here he is with DC collectible Batman Arkham Origins Batman. And I'm sorry I don't have any other Marvel Legends figures, so I don't really have any other figures to compare it to when it comes to this particular line. But I do have DC Direct Batman here from my last figure review. And as you can see, this guy's about 7, 7.5. This guy's 8. Now, which one of these guys would win in a battle? Tell me in the comments. This should make for an interesting argument here. But let's go ahead and take out Batman. So the definition in the sculpting made it easy for Marvel Select to really capture the very definite look of Deadpool in this figure, which makes for some really cool looking poses. But of course you can't have poses without articulation. The articulation in this figure is mostly decent. I mean, it's nothing to really brag about, but it's nothing to really complain about either. You got some basic articulation here in the waist. It could turn 360 degrees like so. I mean, it's a little stiff when you get around, what is it, 180? The 180 mark or the 220 mark, around there, whatever you prefer to call it. But he turns all the way around. And he also has a ball joint here up in the upper shoulder. It's a little stiff to get the inward and outward movement, but it is there, and it does allow for the arm to rotate 360 degrees vertically. He also has an elbow joint right there, just one elbow joint that does have some limited mobility, but it is ratcheted, although that doesn't really help when it comes to the restrictions of that mobility and that piece of articulation, because he can just move that much. So there you go. And he does have a wrist swivel, which really comes in handy when it comes to posing him with his 2 handguns. He's got 2 points of articulation here in the neck. He can rotate the neck 360 degrees like so, but it does get hindered there because of this piece of detail here with the knife here on his shoulder. So he really cannot go beyond that point. However, for some, maybe it's because of the articulation, maybe it's because of the plastic that is being used here, but you could rotate the head the other way, and if you force it, and there's actually no real risk of it breaking, but you do be careful just in case. You can actually make him turn 360 degrees, like so. For some reason, however, because of the way that this is sculpted, like that, in that particular angle, he can't rotate it towards his left. He can't rotate counterclockwise. But clockwise, he can rotate his head 360 degrees. You just have to force it a little bit right there, like that. But it does rotate. That's the important part. And he does have, like you could tell right there, he does have a vertical hinge joint on the stump of the neck that allows his head to move up and down, but ever so slightly, like that. It is a little disappointing that he doesn't have any more mobility when it comes to vertical mobility in his head. But that's actually about it. And yeah, it is a little disappointing. But what I do think is a little more disappointing would be the articulation in his legs. Particularly the articulation in the top of his legs. The top of his legs has this ball joint here that has a hinge inside it, as you can see right there. And the mobility of this leg really depends on that hinge, because if that hinge is perpendicular to his body, then that allows movement inwards and outwards, like so. Like that. But in order to get the leg to move forwards and backwards, you kind of need to rotate that ball joint so that the hinge is facing you, like that. And then that means that you have to move the leg like this on this swivel down here at the bottom. Underneath the ball joint, he has another joint there. And you have to move his leg with that joint so that it's facing the correct way, while at the same time having this hinge facing forward so that you can move the leg forwards and backwards like so. There it is. Like that. So it is a little complicated, and on top of that, it kind of hits a point where it doesn't move anymore. Like, it's facing me, so obviously I'm trying to move it back like so, and I don't want to risk breaking it, but that's actually as far as it goes when it comes to this joint up here. I'll talk about the knees and all of that in a second, but this top leg joint, that's as far as it goes back. So on top of having to move this joint in order to move his leg a particular direction, you also have a limited mobility in that joint as well. So it is a bit complicated and it is a bit of a nuisance, but fortunately the rest of the articulation is pretty decent and not that problematic. You got two joints here in the knee that can bend that much back. Unfortunately, they don't bend forward, but of course, realistically, that really can't happen. And on top of that, these joints here in the knees are ratcheted, so they do provide for a decent amount of posability. Although I will warn you guys, I don't know if this is just me, or I don't know if this is just my figure, or if it's a general thing, but the articulation in the right leg, particularly the articulation in the knee as well as the top leg joint that I was talking about, is a little loose. Let me see if I could demonstrate you guys. See? I don't know if it's shaking, if it's coming across well on the camera, but his right leg shakes a lot. Do the stinky leg, do the stinky leg. Yeah, he's doing the stinky leg. Deadpool always had that kind of sense of humor. But yeah, I don't know if this is a general thing or if this just means that I got somewhat of a defective figure, but it's nothing that I feel the need to complain to the merchandiser that I got the figure from and say, oh, I want a replacement. Unlike Batman. Batman legitimately broke, and I needed to replace it. But this guy, I can live with this. It is a little problematic at times, but I'm able to fix the problem within a decent amount of time. And hey, patience is a virtue. And concluding with the articulation in his legs, he also has a ankle swivel right there, and he does have a hinge that you can barely make out right in there that allows his ankle to pivot forward and backward, but ever so slightly. Much like the vertical hinge in his neck, he can barely move his feet up and down. Just that much. And it is a bit of a disappointment. Wow, look at those feet. They're huge. You know what they say about big feet? That's probably why they gave Deadpool big feet. He is made out of several parts. Okay, I'm going to stop with the euphemisms. Just know that the articulation could come across as disappointing, especially if you don't actually watch any reviews for this figure. But overall, this guy is great when it comes to sculpt, when it comes to presentation, and even though it does have some somewhat significant flaws when it comes to its articulation, as a whole, it is decent, and it does get the job done when it comes to putting him in different poses. Now, along with the figure itself, he also comes with a barrage of accessories. Let me go ahead and put Deadpool to the side here, and I don't want to risk him falling over. Let's go ahead and start off with some of the more simpler ones. We have what I perceive to be a AK-47 assault rifle, and overall, it looks pretty good. It's actually rather well detailed, as you can see right there. However, my only complaint is that it's actually rather thin, and it's made out of this really hard plastic material, the kind that I feel that if I were to leave this on a sofa or something, and I forget that it's there, and I step on it, or if I sit on it, it's probably going to break. So out of all the accessories, and I'll get to why in a second, out of all the accessories, if you purchase this figure, take care of this guy. Make sure you know where you left this assault rifle, because if you want to preserve it, make sure that you know where it's at, because something tells me that if you drop this on the ground and you step on it in a particular angle to where one part of this is exposed and the other part is under your foot, and it bends at a certain angle, at a certain point, it's going to break, because that's how thin it is. But overall, it's a rather neat accessory, although my only other complaint about it would be that because of his articulation, especially in his arms, he can only hold the assault rifle in one hand, like so. And his hands come sculpted in a way where he's made to hold guns, as you couldn't already tell. So all you gotta do when it comes to either the AK-47 assault rifle or the two handguns, which I'll showcase in a second, all you gotta do is just kind of fidget with his hand. That way you can get his finger to go inside of the trigger, and it looks a bit more realistic, and actually rather badass looking. But like I said, because of the articulation, he can only hold the rifle in one hand, and that's really about it. Now granted, that's preferably how Deadpool chooses to shoot with semi-automatic weapons. I mean, he's crazy. But it would have been kind of nice to put him in a bit of a missionary pose, or mercenary, that's what I meant to say, missionary. Right, he's come to bless you with bullets. That's what he's come to do. But I think this problem could have been solved if there was some sort of joint right here between his bicep and his shoulder, his rather massive shoulder. That way you can then bend this arm, or at least one of the arms, to hold the clip here in his gun, right there. And he can actually hold the rifle with both of his hands instead of just one hand. It's just a bit of a pet peeve of mine, but it is what it is, like I said. So that is the automatic rifle. He comes with two sai. What? No, not those sai. This sai. The kind of sai that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles come with. And these guys are made out of this kind of material, different from the assault rifle, that actually allows it to bend a little bit. Now, it could still break. Don't get me wrong. It could still break. But it does flex a little bit, as you can see right there. It does have a little bit of flexibility, but not a whole lot. Not like some of the other accessories that I'm about to show. But these guys are actually rather nifty. They're not overly detailed. Actually, they're hardly detailed. But they're painted decently, and it's always a delight to see Deadpool hold these guys. Even though his hands are made to hold guns, still, it's rather neat to have him hold sai, as you can see. Although, like I said, if you pose him in a certain way and you actually show his hands this way, it does kind of ruin the illusion. But that's just me. So let's go ahead and put the sai to the side, if you will. Next up are his two katanas, and these are the guys that I said are made out of a way different material than either the sai or the AK-47, because these guys are actually rather flexible, as you can see. Don't get me wrong, they could probably still break, but it'll take an awful lot more to break them than the AK-47 or the sai, because these guys, as you can see, are way more flexible than the other accessories that I have shown so far, but they could still break. On top of that, they're actually rather pointy. They're not sharp, they're not going to cut anybody, but they're pointy enough to where you probably shouldn't aim them at any eyes and actually make any sort of sudden movements to shank them, because I'm pretty sure they could cause some severe eye damage. I mean, they're not going to cause any sort of internal bleeding. They're not going to pierce anybody's gut. No, but hey, careful, kids. You'll shoot your eye. No, you'll poke your eye out, kid. Anyways, much like the sai, they're not really well detailed, but they are painted decently. Actually, they have a little bit of gold right there. That's actually rather cool. But as a whole, they look better when he's holding them, and he looks rather cool when he's holding them. And more so than the sai, they actually don't look that bad when he's holding them in his hands, because even though his hands are sculpted in a way where they're meant to hold mostly guns, they look a little bit better than the sai do. Now, granted, if you don't put them the right way, they'll become a little loose and they'll fall off, but if you put them in the correct way, like so, he holds them fairly well, and he looks actually rather badass with them in his hands. Like so. Look at that. That looks awesome. Yeah. So, in my opinion, I think the katanas come off better as the sai. Now, if you don't want Deadpool to hold the katanas, he does have two little holsters here in the back that are mainly made to hold the katanas. I mean, yeah, you could also hold the sai in there, and they actually read rather well. Like, for example, here, let me put the sai here in the back, and let me have him face forward, and as you can see, he looks like classic Deadpool. And they actually look rather decent from the back, even though they look like they're being a little clamped together there. But if you would like, you can also fit the sai in there. I mean, not the sai, the katanas. And the katanas actually come across a little bit better than the sai. Much like they do in his hands, they also look rather, kind of better in his back here, in the back holsters. Like so. And there we got Deadpool almost ready for action because we have one more pair of accessories to cover, and they are none other than his infamous and trademark double handguns. And they are a little bit more detailed than the other accessories because obviously they're handguns, so they obviously require all that nice little detailing going on right there. But much like the other accessories, they're not spectacularly painted. I mean, all they got is that metallic silver and the black here on the handle. But much like the other accessories, especially the katanas, they look best when he's holding them. I mean, he just looks great holding these guys. Now, much like the katanas, he comes with holsters here on his thighs in which you could put the handguns. Like so. Let me get this guy in there. I think he goes, there you go. They go about that far into the holster. And yeah, it looks nice. But he's Deadpool. He's got to hold them. Plus, they are, I don't know about this one. Yeah, this one. A little loose. It doesn't take much to kind of push them out. Now, they do get stuck there, so they're not going to just go flying about. They're just a little loose in their place. The little thing on the front of the gun that helps you aim, whatever that friggin' thing is called. Because of that thing that is actually etched into the sculpting of the gun, it actually keeps it from falling out. So that's actually kind of cool. But still, it's a little loose within the holster. But like I said, Deadpool is not Deadpool if he's not holding his double handguns. And like I said before, his hands are sculpted in a way to hold guns, so it's glorious to actually see his index finger inside of the trigger to make it seem like he's actually about to shoot these bad boys off. Like that. Look at that. That looks great. Of course, he's not complete without the other, so let's go ahead and put it in there. There's the Deadpool that we all know and love. Or love to hate. But you're gonna love him no matter what. Look at that. That looks great. I mean, honestly, I could have done without the Psy or the AK-47, especially the AK-47. But Deadpool wouldn't have been Deadpool if he didn't come with the two handguns. I would have been really disappointed with Marvel Select if he didn't come with these handguns, and he looks magnificent with them. So let's go ahead and, for keepsake's sake, if you will, let's go ahead and put the Psy here in the holsters on the side, which you could do, but again, they are spectacularly loose. It could easily come out, unlike the handguns. But I got no other place to store them, so that's what I like to do. I try to utilize the figure as much as possible when it comes to storing his accessories. The only one that's not going to be able to make it onto his multi-parted body here would be the AK-47, which rests on this rather well-detailed base, which I almost forgot to talk about. And I'm afraid that Deadpool will fall here. There we go. He comes with this rather cool looking base. All Marvel Select figures, I believe, come with either a base or some extravagant accessory of some kind, but mostly a base. I do believe all Marvel Select figures come with a base. And the base comprises of two pieces. And the first piece here is this bullet-riddled wall, and it's actually well detailed and well painted. Now, it is made out of this form of, I don't want to say rubber, but it's actually this hard plastic that does bend, so it'll take just a little bit more to break, but much like the other accessories, it probably will break with enough force, but it is a little safer than your typical hard plastic that can easily break if you drop it on a hard ground. It'll resist. Like if you can see here in the back, you can kind of tell what kind of material it's made out of. It's made out of that kind of material that they use to make mats that you do gym training on. And the same thing goes for the bottom portion of the base here, which comes with all the bullet casings of all those bullets that riddled this wall. And like I said before, it's also made out of that similar material. And as you can see, it's well painted and well detailed. And it's cool that not only it came in two pieces so that you can actually go ahead and put it away if you don't want it to, and it makes for some convenient spacing, but along with that, he just looks great standing on it. And it actually comes with a peg. Let me go ahead and show you. It has a little peg right about there. And he actually comes with a hole on either foot, as you can see right there. So you can go ahead and put either foot on top of that peg to put them in different poses. I'm going to go ahead and use the right foot here for just a basic standing pose with his two guns, all trigger happy. Let's go ahead and actually pose him like this, like he is happy. Ay caramba. And of course it's not complete without putting the wall portion on it. And there we have Deadpool. Takes a little while to get him situated because of, like I said, the little bit of loosey-goosiness here in the right leg. But other than that, when I hit that sweet spot where I strike the right amount of balance to get him in this rather sweet pose, and I'm going to go ahead and push him a little back, he looks outstanding. I do think that this is actually a rather great figure. And of course, I know that it's probably one of the most difficult things ever for any toy collector, especially if you're a toy collector that fancies Marvel figures. It's a difficult, almost impossible thing to get your hands on the Marvel Legends Deadpool, because I know that that thing goes for like hundreds of dollars on eBay. I'm not even kidding. Alright, the Marvel Legends Deadpool figure, that thing is a freaking gold mine at this point. Now, why exactly? Because it's Deadpool, and it's a Marvel Legends 6-inch figure. It's the basic figure that everybody wants with the right amount of articulation. But I think that the next big thing would have to be Marvel Select Deadpool here. The sculpting is amazing, the accessories are outstanding. The base is actually a rather neat base that I wouldn't mind displaying him in. And sure, the articulation could get a little bit bothersome, especially when you're trying to put him in certain poses. But when you, like I said, strike that sweet spot of balance, he just looks great. And he's going to look terrific on my shelf. I give Marvel Select Deadpool a solid 8 out of 10. It does feel just a little steep to spend about 20, maybe 22 bucks on this guy. But he is a Marvel Select figure, so you're kind of paying just a tad bit extra for some of that exclusivity. Because I do know that certain comic book shops sell him, but it is that type of figure that your best bet to purchase him would be through the internet. And he is, like I said, the next big thing when it comes to either getting this guy or the Marvel Legends figure, which will set you back a couple $100 on eBay. But I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Marvel Select Deadpool. If you guys did enjoy it and would like to check out more videos, be sure to check out my channel and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, take care. I'll see you guys later.